It's time you fired your branding because it is failing at its job. Your brand might look good, or maybe it doesn't, but if it's not selling, then it is not aligned. I bet you're stuck in this really frustrating loop of, is it my messaging? Okay, let me go rewrite my copy. Is it my visuals? Let me update my brand colors, my fonts, or tweak my logo. Or is it my offer? Let me drop the price one more time. This loop of constantly scrapping individual pieces of your brand is a clear sign that you have major brand misalignment. Until you understand the core experience that you're trying to craft with your brand and your customer's journey, merge them together, you will continue to spin your wheels. So I'm going to break down why your brand looks good enough but actually isn't converting, and how iconic brands like Starbucks create an experience that actually turn into sales, and then show you how you can replicate that in your own online business. So here's what I see with so many online business owners. You have a good looking brand, you have a pretty aesthetic Instagram feed, and you have a website that has all the necessary proper pages. But the sales are inconsistent and you're troubleshooting piece by piece. You decide to tweak your colors or your fonts, drop the price to your offer, rewrite your homepage, or go back and ask for more testimonials thinking any or all of those will be the fix finally. But here's why none of that is working. You're treating your brand like Legos, thinking you can snap and replace different pieces individually without it affecting the whole. When in reality, your brand is actually a house of cards. All those cards are supporting one another and layering on top of the other. If you touch one, the entire structure is affected. You can't fix or tweak your messaging without it affecting your marketing. And you can't redo all of your colors without affecting your Instagram grid or your website. Everything is interconnected. And unlike Legos, you need to think about it as a whole. As a business owner, it's our joy and our privilege to craft this house of cards. We get to put together this big experience, this ecosystem. But I think somewhere along the way, whether it was all the Instagram gurus or just your focus as you started to scale, you lost sight of the fact that there is a larger picture at play. There is more that you need to be remembering. A brand that's in alignment is going to tap into your target audience's bigger vision. It's going to tap into their desires and their personal tastes. It's going to almost create this dreamscape that they never want to leave. They're going to want to continually come back to. The biggest and most common misstep that I see around this dreamscape is that founders create it based off their own personal taste. And I know this can be such a big thing where people fight back against me sometimes, where they're like, no, but I like the color orange. Okay, but is that color, is that font, is that messaging, is that narrative example, marketing tactic, is it actually connecting with your audience, or is it just your personal preference? We have to remember that we have to let the audience be the right of way, right? We have to merge into their traffic lane, not force them to merge into our traffic lane. That's a huge moment of disconnect. We need to build something that actually reflects your audience's desires and preferences, and we want to make sure that when they land on it, they think, wow, this is for me. And this segues us perfectly into kind of the second piece, which is trust, brand trust. We never want to create doubt or hesitation or pause within the buyer journey, within the customer journey. We never want them to be questioning us, our offers, our intentions. We don't want them thinking, am I in the right place? Do they understand me? Is this right for me? If those kinds of things are swirling in their head, then we've misstepped. We never want our audience to have to figure it out or doubt themselves or doubt their experience within our brand. A little 30-second test that I like to do when I'm approaching a new brand, whether it's in person and I'm walking to a little boutique or I see a new Instagram profile, is I will ask myself, is this brand performing or trying too hard? Or are they actually connecting and essentially being really real with me and authentic? So when it comes to the buyer's journey, right, we've probably all heard that term as business owners, but I want us to think about it in this way. A buyer's journey is when someone is going from, I don't know this person, to I am ready to buy. That is the journey. At each stage of the journey, they need to feel certain things, know certain things, and believe certain things. And your job as the person who gets to curate all of this is you get to make sure that that is in alignment with your brand. And when it doesn't, you have brand misalignment. Get it? And yes, for some of you, you might have parts that are in the green, they are working, and then other parts are in the red, they're working against you. However, it's always going to lead to the larger problem, which is inconsistency, why you can't replicate the good weeks and why the hard weeks feel even more frustrating. So what I'm going to do is show you what brand alignment looks like in practice with a really successful brand that we all know and love, Starbucks. She's an icon, we all love her, and pumpkin spice latte takes over our entire world for the month of October. But have we actually stopped and asked ourselves why? What are they doing right? And how can I replicate that as a small business? Let's get into it. Former chairman and CEO Howard Schultz went to Italy in 1983 and he fell in love with espresso bars. He loved the way that people lingered and that they had entire social networks over their cappuccinos. He wanted to create this third place, as he calls it, between home and work, just like he saw the Italians doing in their espresso bars. So he took that concept home with him. He turned your morning coffee into a ritual. Schultz prioritized in-store experiences over the years and crafted a store with the smell, the music, the free Wi-Fi, the seating, in such a way that enticed you to stay longer, foster community, and ultimately spend more. Everything was designed to make you feel like I belong here. That was his core experience. That was the core brand experience that he was looking to craft thanks to his inspiration in Italy. Now I want you to ask yourself, are you creating touch points that are working together to create a brand experience like Howard did? Or are they all just disconnected, disjointed pieces working on their own thing? So the email that delivers that digital product, the FAQ section of your website, and your Instagram stories, are they all working together? Or are they all just separate things that you treat as separate Legos? When your brand experience is aligned with your buyer's journey, your messaging reinforces your visuals. Your visuals support your positioning guides your offers deliver on your promise, and your delivery creates advocates or fans. Remember, it all works together like a house of cards. So as a non-multi-billion-dollar corporation with thousands of employees and store locations, how do we replicate this? How do we take this and actually turn it into something that we can apply? So now that we understand what brand alignment is and we understand an example that we could, go out today and go experience, then how do we fix it for our own small business? I'm going to tell you, and there are 4 steps. And honestly, the 4th one is the most fun one, so definitely stick around for that. Okay, the first step is to map out your customer or your buyer's journey. This is how I like to do it inside of my agency and kind of the process that I use with all of our clients. The first one, or the first step, is the trigger. So why are they looking for a solution? Understanding essentially their motivations. What are your intentions? Second is going to be the consideration. So what type of buyer are they? Are they emotional or are they more statistic minded, right? For example. And why are they exploring how are they exploring if you're the right fit for them? Their objections, what stops them from buying or what propels them forward. Their purchase, so the final nudge that they might need, and then literally how do they buy? So again, don't just write out, but actually purchase, the final nudge that they need, and literally how they buy. The experience, so what they experience now that they've purchased from you, and what it feels like working with you or buying from you. Retention, what keeps them around post-purchase, and then advocacy, what continues to nurture the relationship and encourages them to refer you. Now for each stage of their customer journey, I want you to write down 3 different things. What do they feel? What do they need to know? And what do they need to believe? All right, step 2, we're going to audit the different touch points. And I like to use a stoplight or red, yellow, green light system for this just to make it really easy. And I can use emojis. Red means that it is either not in play, it's currently not in play in our business, or it is in dire need of reworking. Yellow means that it can hold for now, right? It's doing its job, there's always room for improvement, but it's going to be kind of put lower on the list. And then, of course, we have green, and that means that it's working for us, it's doing well, right? It's something that it can be repeatable, it's sustainable, and ultimately it's just green all around. From here, I want you to make a list of all the different little ways that someone can come into contact with your business. And if that's in person, I want you to literally go from the moment that they park on the street. And if you're an online business owner, I want you to think about from the moment that they first hear or read about your brand. So a couple ideas or a starting list is going to be social media, but list out each of those platforms individually, your website visuals, your website copy, your overall brand positioning and messaging, emails, sales conversations, onboarding process, delivery or service, follow-up. This is just, again, a starting list. It should be longer than that. And then remember the stoplight system for each touch point is asking whether it is reinforcing with our audience the feel, know, believe, or whether it is creating confusion, doubt, or disconnect. Number 3 is where we take this audit and go even further. And we're going to dive into our red lights because those are the things we're going to start working on first. Look at the gaps in your brand experience through these red lights, through these misaligned touch points, and start to work out just actionable ways that we can start to patch them. Again, some of these are going to be really big undertakings, right? Like if your whole entire website is just out of alignment, that's a really big project to take on. So just, again, think of ways that we can just do small little fixes in the meantime. And then again, you can kind of start to prioritize, all right, this would only take an afternoon, or this is something that I could delegate to my VA. And then look at the bigger tasks that are going to require more investment and start to kind of plan about, okay, I can save up and in quarter 3 I can make the investment, or I can hire a coach to help me understand how I can do better at this touch point. These red lights are your biggest misalignments and the things that you need to address first. And then step 4, the fun part, time to actually fix the misalignment. So now that we have our list of priorities and we start to work them out in step 3, I want us to actually think about how we can, again, approach it in a sense of house of cards. So again, I don't want you to get stuck in the loop of treating everything like Legos and just trying to fix all the things from this red light system, okay? That's where most people stop. If you're a good business owner, you've probably created a system like this in the past, a list like this in the past, where you've tried to figure out, okay, here's all the things that are going wrong in the business. But again, you've already done that before. You've tried to fix them individually and it didn't work before. And this is the part that trips people up, or that they don't know about, or that they just don't do. We need to first create the larger ecosystem, and we need to first think about the entire brand as a whole so that we can then inform all the other touch points. I like to do this by taking time to write out our primary core brand experience that we're going to craft. And it starts by sitting down and writing and crafting the one core experience that you want your brand to communicate. So for example, Starbucks is all about belonging and creating a third place. That informs all of those touch points. And when they have a red light in their touch point, they take that red light and they say, okay, here's our core experience. How is it not in alignment with it? And how do we then fix it? So again, Victoria's Secret is all about feminine fantasy and confidence. And Glossier is all about co-creation and creating kind of like community and sparks of joy for their people. Remember that these touch points reinforce and that they support this core experience. So you can't just go piecing them and picking them apart individually. You need to first craft that core experience to inform how to align the touch points. Your visuals should reinforce it, your messaging, and all of your offers, and the personality that you employ, and even the processes that you guide clients through. All of those different pieces and parts are part of the total brand experience that you have the joy of crafting. And when you get to that place where you have mostly yellow and green lights, your brand does not just look good, but it's also going to connect, and connect is what converts. Now, I do want to pause here and remind you that you have been lied to about branding and aesthetics in total. I have talked with tons of multi-6, 7, some even 8-figure coaches and business owners, and I've worked with a lot of major brands, like international level brands, who have fallen into these common pitfalls about branding and aesthetics. The first one is that aesthetics alone does not equal sales or connection. Someone can find something very pretty, but that doesn't mean that they want to buy it, or that it actually deeply moves them, or that they can emotionally connect with it. So there's a giant misconception that aesthetics, when something looks pretty, that it automatically is activating them and that will lead to a sale. Misaligned brands often feel really polished. They are beautiful and gleaming. They can also be hot messes too, don't get me wrong. But what's happening is that in reality, they are repelling and confusing their audience, and obviously it's not working out well for them. The second lie is that aesthetics can create clarity. And then obviously clarity is what creates conversion, right? It's trust. So trust does create conversions, but aesthetics alone does not necessarily mean that you have clarity. For your brand to be clear, it needs to be specific. It needs to have specific intentions. It needs to have specific emotions that it's trying to drive home. It needs to have specific goals and objections and specifics around its audience members, right? All those things. The devil is in the details, quite literally here. So while a lot of brands thinking that if I just tweak my content calendar or if I just swap out these fonts and colors, they get lost in those details because they're not thinking about the specifics within that brand experience that they're trying to craft. They've fallen into that trap of trying to troubleshoot the Legos versus thinking about the entire house of cards. So until you craft that core brand experience and then merge it with your customer journey, you're going to consistently be stuck in that troubleshooting loop, and you're going to be consistently losing out on sales and ultimately really frustrated. And no, aesthetics alone will not save you here. Okay, quick recap. We need to make sure that you're dialing in these 3 questions through the 4 steps that I've already outlined. Is your brand clear on who it's for? Because if you're trying to appeal to everyone, you're going to convert no one. Number 2, is it designed to lead people somewhere, or does it just look nice? Because again, aesthetics alone will not save you here. And then, is it building trust through consistent touch points that reinforce the core brand experience? Because ideally, it's our brand and that experience that's doing the heavy lifting in our sales. And then finally, just a little reminder is that I want you to think about your brand as a house of cards, not individual Lego pieces. Now, believe it or not, there is actually a lot more to this. That's why my agency exists, because a lot of people want to dive deeper, and in a lot of cases, they don't want to do this themselves. So that's where me and my specialty and my team come in. But I don't want you to panic, okay? Because I know this is a lot. In my next video, I am going to reveal the untold reasons why your brand feels inconsistent, and I'm going to dive deeper into step 2 that we just reviewed. I'm going to break down why things in step 2 feel really hard and inconsistent and just like a pain in the butt to maintain. And I want you to remember that you don't need a marketing or design degree to upkeep these things in your business and to create consistency and cohesion. You might need a professional to lay down the foundation, right, for the branding and things like that, and that's where I come in, but maintaining it is not as difficult as it seems. So stick around so you can stop wasting time on all the wrong fixes. I'll see you in the next one.